how to count calories and how to account for fullness and all the stuff that goes into it. This specific question comes from the Facebook group, and it was asking, how do you count calories? And I wasn't sure how it was framed with the second part about fullness, but I took it to mean, how do you count calories and how do you adjust for fullness in either direction? So let's talk a little bit about that. When it comes to counting calories, we are in a day and age where it is easier than ever. It's much, much easier than, say, 20, 30 years ago when people would literally have to break out their pads and paper and write everything down. And I actually, when I was working at the gym that I was at previously, there was actually a woman who took the liberty of creating her own Excel sheet and putting everything down to the gram, everything. And that's one way to do it. Like, you can just, whatever that you are consuming for that day, just jot it down and tally it all up as you go. Now, that takes a lot of time and a lot of effort. And personally, I just don't have the patience for it. So now, luckily, we have these apps that are super convenient. They got barcode scanners and it's awesome. So my top three are MyFitnessPal, which is like what me and my clients use because it's got the biggest library as far as foods go. It's unfortunately, you do have to pay to adjust the macros and everything if for some reason your label is incorrect, because they do, like, companies change labels all the time to try and make it more visually friendly. So that's my only issue with that. But otherwise, awesome app. And it integrates into the app that I use for clients called Trainerize. So that's an added bonus. Another one that I've used in the past that I know a couple of people have mentioned that they used is called Lose It. And that's another good one. And my favorite overall is Carbon Diet Coach. That's the one that Lane Norton and his wife Holly Baxter co-created. And it's basically MyFitnessPal, but it's also got a built-in coach algorithm in there. So it adjusts your calories and all of your macros based on weigh-ins, measurements, and everything like that. So, and it's only like $10. So it's insane as far as a deal. So definitely suggest checking those out. I'll make sure to put them in the notes so you know what to look for. Apps link. See? Don't need a long note, just need the one that triggers the memory. So yeah, as far as counting calories goes, there's really no need to get into depth on that, because that's all you really need is one of those apps that do the job, give you consistent numbers, and then you go from there. Now, when it comes to setting your calories, that's a different conversation because, for example, MyFitnessPal, actually all of them, every single one that I mentioned calculates your calories for you. However, this is a problem because MyFitnessPal, I don't know if they've since changed it, because like a lot of people have been giving them a lot of crap over the years for their extremely low calorie recommendations to start, and the fact that they count in calories burned from like Apple Watches, Fitbits, and stuff. And it just leads to a lot of frustration and a lot of really crappy implementation. When it comes to calories, like, nobody should be starting at 1,200. That's just stupid. Like, that's a really I don't know what the word would be, but it's like a very oversimplistic way of doing things and very cookie cutter. And for a lot of people, it just sets them up for failure. It's nowhere near what you need to fuel workouts, to get your work done and be productive and mentally clear, and just to not feel like garbage. So, and those calorie trackers, if anybody has been keeping up with my recent social media, just put it, I reposted an old post from a few months back about how bad fitness trackers are at tracking how many calories are burned. To get a true measure of like how many calories you're burning, you need to be hooked up to a machine that literally measures the content of what you're breathing out into the world. You think a little watch on your wrist is going to be able to capture all of that? No. And it's not accounting for the fact that, are you running? Are you lifting weights? Are you doing anything else that would require any sort of adaptation on your body? Like, it doesn't account for any of that stuff. So fitness trackers and the fact that they're using calories burned on a watch to factor in how many you should be eating during the day is just dumb. It's marketing, And that's all it really is. It's literally giving you a crappier product in the name of sounding cool and advanced when we're not there yet. We just aren't. But before I go off on that, I'll cut it there. When it comes to setting yourself up for what calories will help you achieve a certain goal, let's take fat loss, for example. When it comes to fat loss, my simple way of doing it is take whatever weight that you want to get to and multiply it by 10. That's it. That's the simple way of doing it. So, for example, right now, post-vacation, I'm jumping in, going on a diet, trying to get back into like the 190s, get under that 200 mark. So I'm aiming for 200. So 200 times 10, super simple math. You got 2,000 calories. So for me, that would be great. Or let's say you're going from like 170 to 150. Okay, 100 or 1,500 calories. Boom, done. But I wouldn't go like, let's say you're like on the much heavier side. I probably wouldn't go like 100 pounds down. So like, let's say you're going from 300 pounds and you want to get to 200. I probably wouldn't dive into 2,000 calories. I'd probably aim for like a 50-pound goal, or one easy way to do it is like aim for 5 to 10% of your body weight down. So for me, right now being at around 220 pounds, 10% would be 22 pounds. So that 200 mark right there, that's a good place to go. So if you want to get real technical with it, anywhere from 5 to 10%, do that. And then if you do hit a plateau, then you could start taking away. But for everybody to start, that's a really, really good point, a really good place to begin. So I hope that answers any questions on the calorie side of things. Now let's talk about fullness, because fullness makes this whole process a whole lot easier. Because a lot of times when it comes to people like counting their calories, the one thing that really screws a lot of people up is the fact that they're getting super hungry on these really low calories, and especially that 1,200 calorie mark. When we're trying to think about, when we're thinking about fullness and we want to get to that place of where it's quote unquote easy to hit your calories, feel full, and still lose weight all at the same time, that's what we call like the unicorn. Because when you're losing weight, there will be times you're hungry, and that's okay. You just got to accept it, bear down, do what you got to do. But to make it easier with the fullness, a couple of things that I use that work incredibly well with clients, with myself previously, like these things make life a whole lot easier, and you'll be feeling pretty good throughout the process. So the big three things that factor into the fullness and how you're feeling is, one, slowing down. Now, this is hard to do, especially when you're on a diet. The fact is that you're going to be hungry and you want to stuff it down as fast as you can because you're hungry. Like you're kind of like a ravenous dog waiting on their meal, like, oh, come on, and you want to get it down as fast as possible. Now, when you do this, it really, like, it takes about 15 minutes for your body to even get that signal from your stomach that you are full. So if you're downing your meal in 5 minutes and that's more than you need, and you will be full in another 10, if you waited another 10 minutes, you are going to be still hungry, even though you don't need any more food. And then that's going to lead to overeating on the calories, breaking your calorie budget, and not seeing the results that you want. So when it comes to slowing down, there's two things that I like doing that are pretty simple to implement. One is literally doing a timer, 15 minutes. And this one comes from Joshua Hillis, his book with Dan John. Let me look it up because I want to make sure that I give credit where credit is due. Joshua Hillis is one of these like OG guys in the nutrition space he's been doing a lot of good work for a lot of time. Okay, here it is. The book is called Fat Loss Happens on Monday. Josh Hillis and Dan John. Now, I'll say this, if you're going to dive into that book, I'm not a big fan of some of the language that he uses because it's very, I'm at a loss for words today. The descriptive words just are not coming. But he uses the words like hot, sexy, and all these things like mentally maybe you say to yourself, but I probably wouldn't put in a book, and I don't talk to clients that way. So not my preference, but he has a lot of good tips in there, like the 15-minute meals. You literally just set your timer for 15 minutes and you make sure that you're not done until that 15 minutes hits. Now, for me personally, I am a speed eater. I freaking love to eat as much as possible in a short amount of time, and I don't know why. That's just always how I've done it. Doing this timer helped a lot, and I was amazed at how much more full I felt on so much less food. So give that a try for sure. The other thing that I love using for clients, because it's so easy, like say you don't have a timer on you, like you don't have an Apple Watch or a Fitbit or anything like that, or you don't want to be bothered by looking at the time. That's fine. Another easy way to do it is putting your utensil down in between bites. So literally your fork, your spoon, chopsticks, whatever, take your bite, put it down, finish chewing, make sure that it's like completely down. There's no food left in your mouth before you take that next bite, and then boom, go in again. And that's going to help a lot with digesting your food better, because by chewing it up more and more and more, digestion starts in the mouth. So by chewing it up fully, it'll go through a lot easier. So for anybody that has issues with digestion, that could possibly help. Another thing is that it's going to eat up, pun intended, it's going to eat up a lot of time. So you might hit that 15-minute mark, especially if you're eating like a salad or you're eating like a rice dish or something like that. Like if you wanted to take it a step further, you could have like a rice dish with a fork or not soup with a fork. That's just dumb, but you get my drift. That's as far as slowing it down. Those two work incredibly well. Then the next thing that we want to focus on is consistency. Now, when it comes to consistency, this is getting your body in the groove, allowing it to know when meals are coming, because if you're always having your meal times like an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours of difference, or skipping meals entirely, your body doesn't know what to expect, and it's going to think that it's going into like starvation, which is like that. We have those biological like feedback mechanisms where it's like, oh, we missed a meal, we're going to be hungry, oh God, we're starving, oh God, and our bodies are freaking out. Now, if you get in the habit of doing breakfast, lunch, dinner pretty much in the exact same time frame, give or take like 30, 40 minutes. So if you have your breakfast around like 9, 10 o'clock in the morning, and then you have your lunch around 12 to 1, and then you have your dinner around like 6 to 7 at night, and have a couple of snacks in between, that will allow you to feel more full during the day, rather than having these mini biological freakouts of you being like, oh, I'm hungry, oh, I'm starving, and then making bad decisions. And on top of that, when you time it up like that, and you know that your body is going to be hungry at a certain time, you can get ahead of it. So you can have that snack, or you can have that meal when you're starting to feel hungry, not when you're ravenous. And when you do that, the decision making is usually a whole lot better. Just think, every time you have been insanely hungry and you pass a McDonald's, it looks a lot more appealing. Or think about when you're not hungry and somebody offers you food, you're like denying stuff that you otherwise would love to have. And you're like, wow, making a pretty good decision here, but I'm not hungry. So yeah, use that to your advantage. Yeah. And that can also apply to intermittent fasting too. It doesn't mean that you have to have the standard breakfast, lunch, dinner. It's really just a matter of getting your body into a consistent rhythm. So if you intermittent fast and you have lunch around like around noon or 1, and then you have like a snack in between, and then you have dinner around 7 or 8, and those are really big meals compared to the breakfast, lunch, dinner, that's fine, as long as your body knows what's coming and it can like make the adjustments, because it will. And last but not least is protein, fiber, and fats. The big 3 when it comes to feeling full throughout the day, because these are usually the ones that people are missing out on, that they don't even realize. They're like, oh, when I put that into my diet, especially protein, I can't even tell you how many times somebody has messaged me and been like, oh my God, I am so full, all this protein. And I'm like, well, you're coming in under your calories. And they're like, oh yeah, which it's not a good thing to happen. We don't want to come under calories, but it's a good problem to have if your issue is I'm always hungry and I'm eating too much. So when it comes to protein, you want lean sources. You want lean meats. You want protein shakes, protein bars that are low calorie, high protein. Anything in that realm. If you're a vegetarian, leaning towards plant sources that are higher in protein, like tofu, like chickpeas, lentils, that good stuff. And what those have is number 2 on the list, which is fiber. Fiber is an incredible nutrient that pretty much nobody gets enough of. And that's speaking to the majority, because on average, you want somewhere in the ballpark of 10 to 12 grams of fiber per 1,000 calories. So for the average consumer, the average person, a lot of like dietitians and like organizations that focus on like the American diet will recommend around 30 grams of fiber daily. So that's a good number to aim for, but it's very hard to achieve if your diet is not mostly whole foods. So if you're not getting those plant sources of protein or plant like sources in general, like vegetables, fruits, legumes, nuts, all that stuff has fiber in it. And all that fiber does, well, there's 2 sources. Let me backtrack here. There's 2 sources. There's soluble and insoluble. And the insoluble fiber is that stuff that basically it's kind of like the dump truck. Like it kind of just bulldozes through and pushes everything along and clears you out. And then the soluble fiber softens everything up so it passes through smoothly. And in combination, those 2 improve digestion. They make you feel a whole lot less bloated and they fill you up like crazy. So fiber is very, very good. And last but not least is fats. Now, I know when I say fats, people are like, I got no problem eating fats. I eat fats all the time. I'm talking healthy fats. I'm talking MUFAs and PUFAs. For those of you that don't know, PUFAs are polyunsaturated fats, and then MUFAs are monounsaturated fats. And those are the ones that are hard to come by because we don't really eat enough of them. What we're really good at eating is saturated fat and trans fats. Now, when it comes to trans fats, that's one of those that it's like you should probably avoid it at all costs. Saturated fats, you want to really limit them, not completely eliminate totally, but limit pretty much so it's like a minor part of your diet. When it comes to fats, we want the MUFAs and PUFAs. It's just fun to say that. But that comes from things like almonds, olive oil, canola oil. And for those of you that don't know, canola oil is making a comeback just because it's gotten a lot of crap over the years for being industrial seed oils, which really aren't as bad as people think they are. But yeah, that aim for the good stuff, the healthy fats. Let's see. I think I got it all as far as fullness goes. Yeah. Wow. Look at us. Who'd have thought? We went in depth. We got a lot done. All right. I'll just cut it there. We did good. So if you guys have any more questions as far as all these go, because I know I keep getting these from the Facebook group. If you're not already in the Facebook group, make sure you're in it so you can go ahead and ask your question. I'll be putting up a new post asking for new ideas pretty damn soon. So get your butt in there, get all that free stuff, enjoy the community. It's a fun time. Enjoy. But until then, go kick some ass. I'll see you next time.